Oh, hello. I didn't notice you there. We wanted to go and talk to you for a minute, if you would. Now, you don't know me, but you should. And my name is Sean Robinson. My partner, Kenneth Russi. And we want to talk to you today about a project. Something that is, well, let's say 15 years or more overdue. And that is bringing Sakura Wars to North America. And we want you to help make it possible. Autistic children in Afghanistan. Kenny, you might want to cut that out where you say son of a bitch.
What is Sakura Wars?
An excellent question, and one that I hope to answer for you if you've stumbled across this video without knowing. Sakura Wars is, well, a melding of genres. You've got first your life sim genre, where you are going around as Lieutenant Ogami, a member of the Navy who has been tasked with looking after a squadron of female warriors who have been tasked with guarding Tokyo from demons. And in this portion of the game, you're talking to all of the characters and attempting to build up their trust in you in order to hone their spiritual powers and thus their skill in battle. And the second genre that this brings in is strategy RPG, where you are conducting battles with mechs on a isometric plane, where you're battling said demons with these female warriors inside of what are known as Kobu, which are their steam-powered mecha.
What are the characters like?
Fantastic. Third question, or let me tell you a little bit about the characters. As mentioned before, you're in charge of a squad of 5 female fighters. You see, in Sakura Wars, the girls are not just pretty faces who can kill, they're pretty faces who can sing and dance, because their squadron is also a cover for itself. They pretend to be actresses who sing and dance on stage by delivering plays, when in fact these plays are used to hone their spiritual abilities to make them better suited for the battlefield, and the theater acts as the cover for their operations. First of all is Sakura, who is the newest member to join said team. She's basically the new girl on the group, fights with a sword. Her father was previously a, if you will, spiritual warrior fighting against demons. Then, next, we have Sumire, who is basically the diva of the group. Sumire is the diva of the group, as I said, the longtime star of the stage, who begins to get worried that Sakura might just usurp her as the lead actress. We also have Kana, who is constantly at odds with Sumire. She's the bruiser of the group, the brawler, if you will, the easygoing, strong girl, who's basically telling everyone, relax, have some food, it's not that big of a deal, we'll get through this, lifts weights, pretty cool. Then you also have Maria. She is a little girl from Europe, and she seems to have special abilities above and beyond the normal spiritual powers that the others possess. Then there is also Lee Coran. She is, if you will, a mechanic, an engineer. She goes and works on the Kobu, the mechas that are steam-powered, which these warriors go and pilot. And she's dedicated both to the group and to the Kobu and making sure that they can be synchronized spiritually in order to maximize their potential. Any others that I'm forgetting from our wonderful cast of characters besides, of course, the lieutenant and his superiors? Because we have Maria, but we have, or Iris, but we haven't mentioned Maria.
No, you mentioned Maria.
No, I mentioned Iris. But if I said Maria, I meant to say Iris.
Okay.
Maria is actually a Russian girl, and unlike the others, for example, Sumire fights with a staff, Sakura fights with a sword, and
Iris fights with a teddy bear.
Naturally. Jean-Paul is a diddly wafon. And unlike the others, though, Maria fights with guns. I don't remember what kind of fights with, but I'll just assume her fists.
Mm-hmm.
And so Maria has
Judging
a bit
by
of
her
a,
image, she uses her legs to do most of her talking.
and so any which way, Maria is very mysterious. Of course, the main character, which you play as, Lieutenant Ogami, your average, everyday kind of guy, but with a strong heart, and the ability to gather those around him and maximize their potential. You also have his immediate commander, the vice commander of the group. Her name's Ayame. And of course, the man in charge of it all.
Simply known as Commander.
He really loves his sake.
Yeah.
And this is more or less the group. There's also a group of 3 which act as operations when they're out in the field, but they're more concerned with the behind-the-scenes stuff.
So what separates Sakura Wars from other RPGs?
Well, as mentioned before, of course, Sakura Wars is a hybrid of 2 different genres, but I think that it does more than just that. The original game was released 16 years ago, and in that time, RPGs have changed a lot, not just in their technology, but in their spirit, their character, their heart. Sakura Wars is, if anything else, a very optimistic series. A series with lots of positivity that goes and tries to get its members to all work together for a common goal, watch out for each other's backs, and basically cover each other's weaknesses with their strengths. It's, if you will, really pure-spirited. And I think that's what really makes the game special. If you haven't played this sort of game before, and there really isn't a lot of other games that are like Sakura Wars, like they might have some elements of it, but not the whole thing. You're essentially looking at a steampunk alternative 1924 in Tokyo, where these warriors are going and using their powers to get these mechs to operate. And it's a world where everything from computers to televisions to perhaps even the radios are steam-powered, and is similar to, but definitely not the same as our own collective past. And in this game, when you're talking to the characters, you're normally presented with them face to face, so pretend you're in a first-person perspective playing this game. And you see them, and they're talking to you, and it shows the dialogue below, but the dialogue is also voiced for much of the game, particularly during the important scenes. And as you play throughout this game, you'll be presented with various choices. Sometimes there's no timer, sometimes there's a normal timer, sometimes a fast timer. Sometimes the right choice is to just let the timer run out and choose saying nothing as being your choice. Other times it will have the click lips where you have to go and click on various parts of the screen to look at them or interact with them. And yet other points it will be a combination of timer and click lips. Lots of variety to it in that way.
Yeah, I think the thing that separates this game from other RPGs for me is that there's no level up system. You know, you're not going through and leveling up to get stronger to beat the next bad guy.
Yeah, there's no
You know.
grinding by defeating countless enemies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is where you're getting stronger by getting closer or connecting more with your squadron of 5 women to help them be better and know that you got your back. But there's no level up system, and so anybody you can play this game and I think drop off and come back and not have to worry about it because there's none of that grinding that you had to do in the past. And I think that's the most important part for me that separates Sakura Wars from other RPGs.
It's really nice not to have to spend hours going, well, I can't get to this next area until my guys are level 27, so I'm going to go around for the next hour or two just fighting mindless battles. The game isn't actually even that battle heavy.
So, who's your personal favorite character in Sakura Wars?
Well, I'll tell you, if you tell me yours first.
I think for me, I'm a sucker for a girl in a kimono. And I do
I'm
like...
sorry I didn't dress appropriately today.
It's coming out of your bill.
No.
But I like someone that's strong-willed and has a lot of heart to him. So I think Sakura is my personal favorite. Who's your personal favorite character in Sakura Wars?
Well, my personal favorite character is Lee Kuran, although some translations have it as Ri. And personally, I think Lee sounds better because it's more commonly used name. And the reason I like her is she's watching out for this whole group, right? She's got to go and concern herself not just with the welfare of her fellow humans, but also making sure that the Kobu are well kept, well maintained, synchronized with everybody. A real caring sort of person. Well, she's cute. I mean, I cannot deny those pigtails, freckles, and glasses are a deadly combination.
How accessible do you think this game will be to casual users?
Terribly difficult to get into. You'll need somebody to be your Sherpa. Or... The real answer is, of course, it's mainly dialogue and turn-based battles, so it's very accessible even to the casual user. But it's a really great series that really deserves to be brought over here. It wasn't back in the day because Sega basically looked at it and said, hey, we need to maximize our profit per game. Translating text is way too much work for too little payoff. Let's not do it. And it's not for trying either. There have been a lot of companies that have looked at bringing this series out. Sega itself considered it, although at the time RPGs were kind of a not-to-do thing. Working Designs was considering it at one point. There was an effort by a certain company called NIS America who actually did get it out here. A few more companies I know of that shall remain unnamed for various reasons. And, well, we're hoping that crowdsourcing will be what makes the difference between all these past attempts and the current attempt for us to bring out the first game in the series and hopefully follow that with all of the major ones and perhaps even of some of the spin-offs.
So do you think the game 16 years old has held up in this amount of time?
Well, if you look at the game's genre, or the genres it's composed of, they're still being made today. And think about this, how many strategy RPGs do we really get released in this day and age? I mean, there's like things like Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre, but you hardly ever see an entry in either one of those series.
No, at least not a good one. So what platforms are we going to bring this over on?
What platforms do you think we should?
I think we should do all of them, but I get the feeling we're not going to get enough money for that. So I was thinking mobile platforms like Android or iOS, possibly 3DS if enough money is crowdsourced in. We'd definitely like to put this on the PlayStation Network and the Xbox Live.
So you can hear fans while you're playing.
And definitely the PC, because then if you really want fans, you just put in like 10 fans and keep them going.
Or if you don't, water cool. Well, it's really not water, but...
Right. And this should even do well, I think, on older systems. So especially with like computer platform, the older the system, I think this could be done rather easily on older systems to make it even more accessible. Do you think the touchscreen will lend itself well to this game? For the
I
mobile
think it
platform?
will. As all of the gameplay is turn-based, you can just tap the screen, get the next line of dialogue or whatever. When it gives you multiple choices, tap once to select, again to confirm. And really, it just is simple during the turn-based combat. Select the move you want to make, where you want to move on the screen. It's really accessible for both button-based platforms and touch-based.
How long do you think it'll take to publish this from beginning to end?
Well, once we've gone and translated everything and localized it, and approval on the online distributions like PSN, XBLA, and so on, should take 1 to 3 months depending on the service. As far as the localization goes with the translation, editing the graphics to change the kanji, and other things like that which are required for a localized release, we're probably looking at 1 to 2 years in order to get everything brought over, translated. Of course, it'll have to be ported, so we'll have to track down the code for it, get a nice professional developer to go and take that code and make it into something that's very portable so we can put it on multiple platforms. Of course, we'll be putting out video updates during the whole time. Not every second of every day, mind you, but we'll be putting...
Some things should remain private.
We'll be putting out videos on a regular basis to keep you informed of what's going on with the project, at least once a month.
So how much is this going to cost these good fans to help us localize and license the game?
Well, I'm glad because I'm going to show them exactly what this is going to take. I will break as many walls as it takes to give these people what they deserve, as long as I'm in frame and they can see it. Now, what we're asking for is a big number, but enough little numbers will make this big number easy to get to. We're looking for $500,000. Not in fun bucks. In real American dollars. It's slightly better. So what do we need this much money for?
Not drugs.
But perhaps markers. Well, we're going to need about half of that for $250,000. I'm going to just start putting K's on the rest of these instead of all of these zeros. But we'll need about $250 to secure the rights to publish the game. There's a lot of companies involved with Sakura Wars, and so despite Red Entertainment being the developer, we're going to need to pay a lot of people to secure the rights to bring this game out, which is where the first $250 is. Now the second $250 can be basically broken down into 3 separate categories. And I'll change pens and hope it works out. These 3 categories are basically for programming it, for going and recording voices into English, so we'll just put VO right there, and finally for translating all of the text, which we can put right there. So what we're looking at here is basically, we're going to say that the game's 25 hours long if you go through, do side quests and all this other stuff as you're playing the main game. So for that, we're going to count on there being 4 takes for every line of dialogue recorded, which is a common practice so that the ADR director, who is directing the voice actors and actresses, can go and get multiple takes on the lines to choose the one which sounds best. So that's going to be $300 per hour for professional voice acting, times 100 hours, which is where we get this number. For the programming, we're going to estimate that it'll take about $60,000 to go and reprogram this into a mobile form. And then finally, the translation work. To do about 25 sentences translated from Japanese into English will cost about $100, or, if you will, $100 per page. Considering Sakura Wars has between 20 and 40,000 lines of dialogue, that's a lot of $100 bills.
Yes, it is.
And so all together, this should add up to about $250,000. Now, figured into this first one, for the licensing, there's also figured the 10% which will be deducted from fees through Indiegogo and the payment processor, which is where the 50 in this number is from. And then finally, any buffer spaces in here. If it takes a little more money to get the programming done, that's where this is from, and so on and so forth. We'll also be looking at getting third parties interested in bringing this out. Not just NC-17 Productions, but the other companies that have expressed interest in the present and the past for going and doing this game. Because the more people we can get on board, the more money we can get on board. So if we can make our goal of $500,000, this will show them that we're serious, that collectively we have a lot of power and sway, and that it'll help get their purse strings open to contribute towards perhaps making this $1.5 million or even larger amounts, and everybody gets their cut of the pie. Did you stop it, or are you still recording?
She's still recording. And
Alright, good.
there's no way of editing this, it's all going in.
Even worse, it's a live stream. So once again, our goal, $500,000. And with your help, we will make it possible. All the rewards are on the side of the page. Pick the tier that you can pledge at, and we hope to see you on the other side of a successful project. And for NC-17 Productions, this is Mr. Kenneth Russi.
And this is Mr. Sean Robinson.
And let's make it happen, people.
Wait.
Lightning! Tim Schafer, we need your spiritual support.
As well as monetary support. We know you got $3 million just hanging out there.
Yeah, what are you going to use it for?
Alright.
The end.
Fade to black.
Or white, whatever. This scooting, it takes time, yeah.
It sure does. My butt is like a scooter machine. It scoots everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
It also poots everywhere. Lightning!